Did you guys see this the lawsuit between the UFC fighters and Dana White
Sure
and
have.
the UFC, not in Dana White, and it's like his LLC.
Mhm.
So UFC lost the bid to revoke the class action status from like hundreds of the MMA fighters and everything. So there's like $1 billion lawsuit out there right now because they're being underpaid. Like we
Mhm.
were just talking about basketball and all the other sports, they probably, they get like between 47 and 50% of revenue for like the sport. Dude, these fighters in the UFC get between 16 and 19% of the revenues. Like
Mhm.
no matter how much he makes on these pay-per-views, dude. Like it's just like I don't know. They're coming at him for, like lost wages and stuff. And they're saying he's pretty much created like a monopoly because what the closest thing was
Bellator.
was what Pride in 2006. Nothing else has been around since then. So they basically have like no leverage to say like, hey
Yeah.
man, you got to pay us more because what are they gonna do? They can't
Mhm.
go to another place to like, what I
Yeah.
mean, get
I
paid
mean,
more or
to be
anything.
honest, the only leverage they have now, and it's not even really leverage, is fighting one of the Paul brothers, Jake Paul, probably, right? Like,
Right.
but it's crazy to think like Nate Diaz, Anderson Silva, and Woodley, like their biggest paydays in their career came against Jake Paul. Like, how wild is that?
Yeah, but what
And
does
these
that
are
say?
exactly what's it say about UFC?
Greed.
Yeah. So these guys are the best, like in the
Best,
best shape, toughest guys like on the planet.
biggest
And
stars.
they have to go like swallow their pride and go box somebody that they know they can beat up in real life and then,
Right.
Yep.
lose in front of everybody just so they get it's like messed up. You know what I mean?
Now,
Just so
now this lawsuit's been around. I'm not sure if you saw this, Liam. I was talking. It's been around almost 8 years now, right? And
uh-huh.
of course, Dana White, being the media star he is, remember he smacked his fucking wife in public, and that just
Yeah.
got brushed under the rug because he knows all. It's Dana White, right?
Uh-huh.
So Dana White, yeah, Dana White. This has been very, very pushed under the rug. He's been trying to hide this for a while because it's $1 billion. I don't give a crap what company you are. When you get hit with $1 billion and you have to pay it out,
Yeah.
it'll crumple your company, right?
Yeah.
So his big thing was when you say that 16 to 19% revenue, that's for the top dogs. That's for the guys. If you're a title fighter, you get a
Yeah.
piece of the pay-per-view. If you don't hold a belt, he literally dictates whatever he wants, how much
Yeah.
you get paid. There's literally guys on the one that just happened in Madison Square Garden, 295. The first couple guys are literally making like 50 grand. And when you remember about this is where people are like, oh, what's 50? Here's the thing. Not only is it only 50 grand and you're taking taxes, right? Then I got to pay
Mhm.
my trainer. I got to pay the guys that help my nutritionist. I got to
Yeah.
pay the camp guys. By the time
Yeah.
they walk away, these guys are literally after 3-4 months making 10, 20 grand
Yeah.
and they're on a pay-per-view and there was 5 fights that generated $500 million and they
Yeah.
gave them
Yeah.
20 grand. Get out of my
Yeah.
Yeah.
face.
And
Yeah,
that's
it
the
is
main
unfair.
card
It's
guys
unfair.
too.
Yes,
That's
yes.
the
Main
main
card.
card.
Yeah.
They all talk about it. If you
Crazy.
lose, the biggest thing, the saddest thing guys get upset about when they lose a title fight is if I don't have the belt, I don't get a piece of the pay-per-view. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. So like when you get the belt,
Uh,
it's you're only if you're a champion or a title, even if you're not a champion. So the guys who fight the champions don't get a piece of the pay-per-view. You have
Right.
to have the belt to get a piece of a pay-per-view.
And the thing is, I understand where he's coming from, like, because if you look at boxing, like the belts are
So
meaningless.
corrupt.
Correct, and it's corrupt, but like the belts are meaningless as well. Where it's
Very
like
true.
the
5
belts
in
in
each weight.
the belts in UFC mean something,
Undisputed.
right?
You're undisputed.
They very much mean something, and this is a reason for it. But it doesn't mean you can't raise the percentage of the guys that even like
100%.
you can't raise the base salary of a guy. If you're fighting on the main card, bro, you deserve to get paid. You
I
know what I
agree.
mean? Like that's what they're coming for. And maybe like the first fight on the main card, maybe maybe you're getting 15% of the crowd, but
Right.
still 15% of the crowd is a couple like maybe $60 million worth of revenue.
Agreed.
Like come the fuck on now. And
then
these
the two
guys,
hard
yeah.
things, remember, they don't have a union. They're not
Nope.
unionized.
mhm.
And Dana is the promoter. He's the matchmaker.
Yeah.
He's the Lord and Savior.
So,
he does whatever
like,
he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
if you
he's taking
do
all of that.
He
You
sure
know
and
what I
if
is.
you
mean?
do and if you do bitch about it, he will fucking put you on he'll shadow ban your ass.
You've seen what he's done to people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's gonna give you, and God forbid, like they did this to like Ty. When you just said Woodley, he was one of them who was outspoken about it. The second Woodley lost his title,
Yeah.
Dana made sure he did nothing but fight the hardest, craziest fights that he will never get back to the title fight because he's like, oh, you remember how you were talking about like when you were on top and I couldn't knock you off because you're the champion and you're talking all this fighter pay equal. Well, now that you lost, I'm going to make sure that I throw every Russian savage from Dagestan at you
God.
until, good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Yep. So did you see just like you know, these rich Saudi Arabian dudes did with golf, there's
wanna
gonna
buy
be
it.
like they want they want to make their own. It's gonna be called the Professional Fighters League. They're gonna
Yeah.
start another one.
Yeah, no one's going to go there. But here's the thing. If this lawsuit goes through, Liam, this is the big thing. They were talking about this on Rogan. If it goes through and they do lose, they get sued for $2 billion and they pay out 300 ex-fighters, a big chunk. They're going to be so low that Dana's going to have to sell. And the Saudi Arabians are foaming at the mouth.
Oh,
because
so
they want to take it over.
Just putting this. You think they're just putting this PFL there to like dangle the carrot in front of fighters and say, "Hey, we'll pay you," just to kind of like weaken the UFC, and then once he kind of goes under, then
because remember there are
it.
other places. They got Bellator. There's one FC over in the Philippines is worldwide bigger than the UFC. UFC is the biggest in America. Worldwide, one FC has way more spectators than they do.
Does it pay better?
Yeah.
Oh,
if it pays better on average, not the champions. But I don't care if you're the one champion, you ain't the UFC champion. The UFC is the NFL. It is what it is. And you can't you could be the Bellator champ. You could be the PFL champ. You could be whatever champ. You ain't the UFC champ. That's the belt. You know what I mean?
Do they get paid if they're on the Ultimate Fighter?
No. And those fights aren't considered on your record either. Schaub talks about this all the time because he was in the Tough House.
Yeah. Yeah, he fought Nelson in the finals, didn't he?
Yeah, yep. He was on the highest rated one ever with Kimbo Slice.
Yes. Yeah.
Kimbo was in that. Yeah.
Dude,
yeah, it was what's his face? Rampage was there, right? And Forrest Griffin.
Yep.
Was that
That's when he beat the door down.
Yeah. Yeah. Liam, I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, just meet him in the middle. I mean, of all athletes, 100%. These guys are like trading their bodies like the most. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Like, the damage that's gonna be done to some of these guys, like brains and that, dude.
100%.
Yeah, you gotta pay them more, man.
No one puts their life and health on the line worse than a UFC fighter. You're out of your mind, or you're just not a smart person. If you think that worst case scenario on a football field, you get hit really hard. There could be like a paralysis for a little bit. It's so far and in between. And like in football is like, close to. In fighting, you might never go home. Like in boxing, how many people a year die in boxing? Matt? Plenty. I know it hasn't happened in the UFC yet. But like you saw what happened to Cyborg when he got kneed by MVP and it crushed his cranium into his goddamn brain.
Yeah.
Like you'll never be the same.
Yeah, what do you think that does to your brain when you're fucking
turns it into
crack
soup?
Your walnut like that, dude?
Yeah, bro.
Jesus Christ.
It's awful. So, all right.